What's up, everyone? Today's guest is a man named Coss Marte. You might have seen him on Vice News. He is an ex-Dominican drug dealer from the Lower East Side of Manhattan. This was a crazy interview. He grew up selling heroin and marijuana on the corners of the Lower East Side.
When I was operating, basically everybody had a block. And so you wanted to buy drugs, you go into the corner bodega. We're sitting in the front of the bodega, you copping and going.
Then in the early 2000s, when New York City really started to gentrify, he took advantage and started a cocaine delivery service where he would sell over a kilo a week, just in tiny little grams.
Everybody in the neighborhood that had different corners was scared of white people because white people were cops. Yeah. My boys thought I was crazy, and I was like, nah, yeah, I'm crazy. I just saw this dude do a bump, down the block. Like, I'm gonna sell to his.
He made $5 million a year doing this. He had different people driving for him, stash houses all over the city where he would bag up product. He had 20 different phones ringing all day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
It was like 20-something drivers, 2 different shifts. And then I was supplying cars for every driver too. So I had a Dominican dude at one of the rental companies. We were getting rental cars for like $15 a day.
He sold coke to movie stars like Lindsay Lohan and Robert De Niro.
Robert De Niro was there and he gave me the nod, and the guy was like, yo, let me get. Paris Hilton was straight hand to hand. Natasha Lyon was the one that brought her in the yellow cab, and she bought like 20, 30 bags of coke.
Coss's story is insane. He did 5 years in prison, and in that time, he developed a workout plan that he eventually grew into a thriving legal business when he got released. He's also opening up legal cannabis dispensaries in New York City as we speak. He's here to tell us all about it. You are going to love this episode. Let's get into it. Coss Marte, and you are watching The Connect with Johnny Mitchell.
While I was in that box was when I was like, I need to change my life around. I need to do something. I can't go back to the streets.
That's when I see the lights behind me start to flash. And I didn't even think, I just hit it. I was driving like my life depended on it. Then I parked the car, hopped out, closed the door, and I started running. And he pulls out a burner, a shank, it's like 6 inches. And he passes it to me. And he goes, here, that's yours. Don't ever leave the cell block without this. He was the reason I made it out of that place alive.
Mexican food.
Yeah.
I can't find that shit in New York. Like that's
a lick right there, but that's the move.
Yeah.
There's your market niche.
You can't get fresh avocados.
Yeah.
I find that so hard to believe. What?
You could get good avocados over there. It's I don't know. I don't know what it is. I think it's just different Mexicans.
I'm shocked by different Mexicans. I'm shocked by how many Mexicans there are in New York, though.
Oh yeah.
Like they're slept on. They are like.
No, Queens is
it's all Mexicans and Ecuadorians.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are they active now? Are they active in the coke game out there?
Oh hell yeah.
Like, but retail, or are they just dumping it from the cartels?
Mostly Colombians.
Okay, so they're giving it to the Colombians.
No, Colombians are the ones like running shit over there in the Queens side.
Right. I imagine I bought coke when I was in New York from these. They had a similar thing that you had. It was these Mexicans, kids, must have been 19 years old. Mm-hmm. We called up for a bag of coke. We hadn't even hung up when the fucking little Fiat car pulled up, dude. I was like, wow. So, I mean, like they got the game in a smash.
Yeah.
And they're getting it wholesale. I feel like the Colombians still have the line to the old country,
mm-hmm.
but how much can you get in swallowing? Or, hiding some kilos in a suitcase.
Mail. It's all mail.
All mail. But even then, I don't know. Maybe you can get in. You can't get it in like the way the Mexicans are getting it in, though. By the 100 packs.
So a lot of shit goes through DRPR. So there's that connect from South America to DR.
Right.
So basically you'll get like a kilo probably in Colombia, some shit for like $5K.
Oh,
and then
or less.
Yeah. And then when it hits Dominican Republic, it's like 10. And then it goes to Puerto Rico.
Right.
When I was getting it from Puerto Rico.
You're getting it from a guy from PR.
And then they were actually sending kids on a plane.
Yeah.
Like these 14-year-old kids with a half a brick in their underwear each.
Right.
You know, like 4 kids just going on a fucking field trip.
Yeah. They're putting
But this is before they had like that whole
the scanners and shit like that. Yeah, that's what I mean. It's all
just had to clear the mag.
It's all changed. It's all changed now. But I mean, look, you can get bricks in through the port of Gowanus. You can load them up in the Puerto Rico, and I think the PR is the big jump off because the packages that come in, the shipments. That's not considered international cargo. It's domestic because PR is like a colony basically. So it's not subject to the same scan like an international box would be.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting?
But they know this. The feds know this.
Oh, of course.
They know the whole route. They know all this shit. But shit gets sophisticated. Like
totally.
You know, they get smarter.
Yeah.
You know,
it's just a cat and mouse game, man. You got to get it while it's good.
Yeah.
Hey guys, let's take a minute to thank our amazing new sponsor for today's episode, Magic Spoon. Magic Spoon is cereal reinvented. We all love cereal. We all grew up as kids eating our favorite cereal. Unfortunately, that stuff is packed with garbage. Thank God for Magic Spoon. Right now, Magic Spoon is offering a variety pack of your favorite flavors, including fruity, cocoa, peanut butter, and frosted. My favorite personally is frosted. Delicious. Magic Spoon cereal has 0 grams of sugar, 13 to 14 grams of protein, and 4 to 5 net grams of carbs in each serving. And it's only 140 calories per serving. They're also keto-friendly, gluten-free, grain-free, and soy-free. Magic Spoon is so confident in their product that they have a 100% happiness guarantee. If you're not satisfied at all with their product, they will refund your money, no questions asked. So right now, click the link in the description and use promo code CONNECT to get $5 off anything on their website, or just go to magicspoon.com/connect and get $5 off anything in the Magic Spoon catalog. It truly is revolutionizing cereal eating. Thank you so much. Now let's get back into the episode. Yeah. So you basically have, in my opinion, because we go into major detail about the drug trade on this show, you have one of the probably the most profitable chain. The most profitable niche in the drug market is selling high-end cocaine retail in major cities. I mean, besides London and, you know, somewhere else in Europe, New York is Australia. The cocaine hub. But I mean, New York is like, people in Miami party and do coke. People in LA party. It's glitzy. They do coke because they want to. In New York, you have to do coke because it's hell. You're working 12 hours a day, and then you expected to go out and party with your coworkers. And how are you going to stay up drinking until 2 a.m.?
No, I mean,
without a bag of yayo?
It's a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week operation. It's not like, hey, you know, definitely like the weekends get busier,
right?
But there was nights where Tuesday nights were the same as fucking Saturday nights.
Yeah.
Like it was crazy.
Unbelievable. And you're not even stepping on the brick.
Yeah, I wasn't.
Because why would you? Because if you have the best coke, if everybody else is stepping on it, why even take that risk? Why take the hassle?
I mean, I learned that.
Get the highest dollar.
Yeah, I learned that early when I was a kid. I used to sell for some guy that was cutting it and taught me how to cut it and all this stuff. And then I saw him like, the customers talking shit like, hey, this guy got, you know, that thing is cutting my nose, blah, 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 whatever it is. And so I knew very early that if I had, you know, higher profit margins and returning customers, that I was going to make more money.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
And that's what it was all about. Just keep consistent and keep the customer happy.
Yeah. And there's nothing worse than haggling with cokeheads. I used to have that back in the day when people would be like, man, this shit is bunk. I'm like, well, what do you want? You bought drugs. Don't make me make this right. You know, like I'm not, this isn't a customer service line for Delta, you know?
Well, I try to operate more on a customer service side because when I was operating, basically everybody had a block. Everybody had a corner.
Yeah.
And so if you wanted to buy coke, you wanted to buy drugs, you go into the corner bodega.
Yeah.
We're sitting in the front of the bodega. You copping and going.
Yeah.
You know, and
so
so
did you have white people? And I know like the Lower East Side, it just starts to get gentrified because we're about the same age.
Yeah.
We're like in high school, the early 2000s.
Yeah.
Would you actually have white people coming into bodegas and looking around for like, you know, the young Latin kids or?
one or two, but they were scared.
Right.
They were scared. They were not dealing with us.
Right.
You
And
know,
so you're
they
missing out on a whole market.
a whole different market.
Right.
And my crew is scared. And not only my crew, but like everybody in the neighborhood that had different corners was scared of white people.
Because you assume those are cops.
Because white people are cops.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so they thought my boys thought I was crazy. And I was like, nah, y'all motherfuckers crazy. I just saw this dude do a bump, you know, down the block. Like, I'm going to sell to his ass.
And white people, they don't haggle on price. White people don't haggle.
You get a fucking tip with that shit.
Yeah, exactly, dude. Oh my God, only $150 for a gram? This is such a good deal.
Keep the fucking change.
Oh my God. White
great.
people, I mean, you know, gentrification, say what it is, you know, it's got some downsides, but we will make your neighborhood nice.
It was awesome.
So, okay, so you're from you weren't born in the DR.
No, I was born in the Lower East Side.
Yes.
I say I was made in the DR.
Yeah,
and
because your parents got pregnant in the DR and they came
my
over
mom
here.
was 6 months pregnant with me when she came here.
Your father, was he involved in the drug trade?
Probably, maybe.
Yeah. well, look, it's no surprise. Like it was really a viable economic option back in the 80s. If you're a young Dominican man, it's like, you know, I could just go work a corner as a lookout and make $1,000 a week, $1,000 a week. What it would take me 2 months to make on the island.
Yeah.
So it was.
Oh no, it'd take you way longer than that.
Way longer than that, right? It was like a real. I don't know if there's crack money like that anymore, but you know, statistically,
there is.
But are they getting it like it's 85?
Well, there is, yeah. There is.
That's so interesting.
It's just a different way of operating,
right?
You know, because you're having a delivery service.
Yeah,
now.
Yeah.
You know, back then you had a spot where you had hundreds of people lined up daily. You're seeing thousands of people, but if you're running an operation that's clean and you could meet a delivery service 15 minutes, you know, and you have minimums of $200, $300 minimum, you know.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Now, why the Lower East Side? You know, why did your mom not move up to the Heights with all the other Dominicans?
My family was there, you know, so there was a lot of Dominicans in the Lower East Side.
Right.
So that the Lower East Side is divided. You have like the Ave, where Avenue B, A, C, D.
Which is Alphabet City.
Alphabet City. Well, that was Lower East Side before Bloomberg changed the lines up.
Right. That's what you do when you know gentrification's coming, when they change the name of the neighborhood.
Yeah. So you'll go to the Avenue B, C, and you'll see tag ups, Lower East Side, you know, 90 graffiti back in the day. But you're like, hey, this is Alphabet City. You know, like, no, this, they call it East Village now.
Oh, you know, right. Exactly.
They changed
exactly.
But and
that was those were big dope spots. Those projects in Alphabet City. Big heron spots.
Oh no, the fucking Thompson Square Park. That shit was lines. Like they had the needle program. They were giving out. You would see hundreds of people lined up around the block from the park. You know, just getting clean needles so they could go by, and then you have the drug dealer right up the block. So it was like
money
boom,
ever
boom,
made.
Boom, free needles, and then you go
and you go get your bag of heroin.
Yeah.
Now, was there ever any part of you, I know you're from the new generation, are there any Dominicans our age, millennials born in the 80s, that are still in the heroin business? Or
absolutely.
Really?
Absolutely.
What has fentanyl done to heroin in New York? We know what it's done to certainly LA and the West Coast and most of the Midwest. What impact has it had on heroin specifically in New York?
I don't know. I don't know. But I know people that still deal dope, you know, that are Dominican, that are around the neighborhood.
Now, who's obviously when
I'm not in when that fentanyl thing popped off, I was just like, I'm not.
You're long gone. You're long done with the streets.
I'm still there.
Yeah.
I see the shit.
Yeah.
You know, but I was not knee deep. I was not buying anything. The only thing I'm buying is weed.
Yeah.
You know?
Were you working before you actually had your own sack? Like I'm talking like 13, 14. Were you working at heron spots as like a lookout or a pitcher or anything like that?
No.
Okay, so you never actually worked in the business.
I've sold heroin. I've sold heroin, but I was buying, like, there was people coming up to me saying like, "Hey, can I get a bundle?" So I'm going up to the person that is gonna give me a bundle for $65, and it's like China white shit, you know?
Right.
And like we're in the border of Chinatown, and there was the Chinese mafia down there.
This is interesting. This is how thorough the Chinese are. People don't talk about this. They were a major heroin importers of the China White. The shit that like you never even saw on the West Coast.
No,
the
you
shit
couldn't
can
get
sniff,
that shit uptown. You
can't even get it uptown.
No.
Wow. And so they were the ones importing it back in the day?
I don't know how their operations work, but I was getting it from my boy.
Who was connected with Chinese dudes.
He was Chinese.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
He had all the Chinese flying dragon shit in his arms. And old school dude, you know, fucked around with Puerto Ricans over there that he was, you know, getting weight for as well. And I seen them probably a couple months ago in Whole Foods. Cleaned up, changed. You know, and just doing the right thing. And do
you think you had an advantage growing up on the Lower East Side because there's so many different races on top of each other? Do you think that gave you an advantage in business later? Because, you know, if you've grown up on 185th, it's just Dominicans and some blacks. Do you think did it make you less afraid of like the new world that was coming?
So there was not a lot of white people.
No, but there's Chinese,
there
Puerto
was
Rican,
Chinese, there was Jews.
Jews.
The Hasidic Jews. Like we used to like work with them on Orchard Street selling socks and all that shit. You know,
selling socks.
They had socks for like, you know, so basically Orchard Street was like the street where people hustle you for white t-shirts, boxers, socks, right? You know, the basic shit. But the Hasidic Jews owned all those little shops, and they were like hire a Puerto Rican Dominican kid to stand outside and be screaming down the block and saying, because they used to sell leathers there, they used to sell the fur coats. So like all the pimps, if you ever talk to a pimp, the pimp in New York got their pimp jackets there
on Orchard Street.
Yeah, you got your minks,
so it's like a nicer Canal Street, or is it the same thing, knockoff, just like Canal?
No, it was no knockoffs. Okay, it was like cheap clothes, like socks and underwears and shit like that. And then you had high-end leather, furs, and all that shit.
Right. So yeah, I think it's definitely like, in my mind, that's a better, you can't control where you grew up, but I think, you know, for a kid like you,
way more diverse.
It's a culturally more diverse environment.
One thing, so my first language is Spanish because that's all that I heard around me. And then there was like 5 Dominican bodegas around my block. Yeah. But like going to first grade, second grade, third, they used to make me sing the Dominican national anthem before the American national anthem. And I was like on, they call it ESL now, but it was like a bilingual class.
You see a Dominican with a baseball bat in the streets of New York. He's not assaulting anyone. He's just practicing, you know?
Yeah, he's going to be Sammy Sosa.
Wow, that's so fascinating. But were Dominicans from the Lower East Side playing baseball?
Oh yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I was riding.
Doesn't matter.
I was playing baseball all the time.
On concrete.
So now they when I went into prison and came out, and then there was a fucking soccer field. Then I was like, damn.
Goddamn, these fucking crackers.
You fucked up the neighborhood, bro.
Yeah. Mexicans will be using it too.
Yeah,
but,
no, they there, you know, but whatever. You know, so but we used to play stick ball. We had a spray paint the diamond. And so that's how we played.
That's so fucking cool. Like it's the 1950s, you know? Wow. So today, who are the Dominicans and the Puerto Ricans, the locals? Yeah. Who's still there? Is it just people like your mom that have owned apartments, rent controlled since that era that just haven't given them up? Is that kind of,
that's the only Latinos. The only Latinos that could afford it is down there because of that, right? Or they're in the projects.
They're in the projects.
There's a lot of projects in the Lower East Side. You know, if you're counting like from 14th Street and Alphabet City, you know, you're going from 14 all the way down to the Brooklyn Bridge. Yeah, and then we got the whole waterfront, which is the prime real estate. That they're trying to knock all that shit down.
They're doing everything they can.
Well, they do it. They're gonna do it.
Yeah, eventually.
My brother's actually, I don't know if you know, but he's a city councilman.
Right.
And
is he trying to stop that?
He has lawsuits against those, and they're bashing him. So like the Equinox crew, they have like the Equinox group has like a huge real estate firm. It's called his name is Ross, something like that. He helped. I don't know if you saw that article back 4 4, 5, 7, I don't know when Trump won.
Yeah.
But the Equinox crew like gave him a lot of money to his campaign. It was like a crazy amount of money.
Right. Sure.
And so that same group it raised so much money and fucking started doing smear campaigns against my brother, saying that he's defunding the police, that he's bringing crime rates up. He's the streets are dirty.
Yeah.
And all these mailers are going out to fucking old people in the neighborhood, and they see this shit and they're like, oh, there's liberal, he's making this shit. And then
I should sell. I should just take their money and leave.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's such, when I hear like, and I love Joe Rogan, but all he does is talk about how much crime is in New York. And I'm like, this motherfucker
is bullshit. That shit is bullshit.
Just look at the stats, dude.
Yeah, it's
1990.
Bullshit. It's bullshit.
There were 2,500 murders in 1 year, 2,500. And do you know where most of the murders, the majority of them, it wasn't, it was happening all over the place. The prime murder location was the Lower East Side. So, and it's probably because of all that dope money that was going through, right? You got junkies from Brooklyn that can pop over, you know what I mean? Crackheads from all over the place descend and they can be out. But it's like, dude, it's like, yes, there's a lot of shoplifting and there's street crimes coming back. There's a lot of homeless people. But just the stats are there. Like it's a different city.
Well, the homeless people, they had them in like shelters in a certain part upstate. Yeah. And then during the pandemic, they all like migrated down to the city. Yeah. And so they just stood there. Yeah. And so and then they started getting these hotels and the city was paying for these hotels.
Right, but there's people making money. They hire private people to build all that shit, and then they give them all the money, and then they're like, you don't have to stay here.
And New York politics.
Yeah, exactly. So if I were your brother, I'd take the money.
My brother is like the only person that's not motivated by money. Yeah. And I'm like, yo.
Hey, fuck it, bro. We're at the Titanic sinking.
I'm gonna smack you up, motherfucker. Yeah. Wake up.
Oh shit. So you're hustling even before the drugs. You're working for, Hasidic Jews, barking. We got shirts, socks, or whatever.
Nah, I never did that job, but like my boys.
Oh, okay. Did you have a hustle like selling candy, any of that New York shit?
Yeah, I sold candy on trains. You were that annoying kid. I was fucking opening up fire hydrants on Rivington Street, cleaning cars. Wow. I did all that shit.
Yeah. That's wild. So then you're just like basically like any other kid, you start smoking blunts. Philly blunts probably. Yeah.
I still smoke. I smoked a Philly yesterday.
Yeah, I bet.
Motherfuckers was like, you got Phillies? I'm like, I don't want to smoke nothing else.
I don't even know where you get a Philly anymore, man.
I got to order them online. It's sad.
Yeah, that's crazy. We should plug them on this show. See if they want to advertise with us. So you start smoking blunts. You've told the story a million times how you get into it. You get into it the way you live, right? Like this guy wants weed. Let's talk about that for a second before we get into coke. Yeah. 2000, 2001, 2002, when you first start bubbling weed, who has it wholesale?
98.
Okay. So what year 13. Were you born? Okay. Yeah. 85. Yeah. Wow. So you're a young kid out there.
Yeah.
Seventh grade.
I started smoking in 96.
Okay.
So the first time I smoked was with my cousin, Alex. He lived, so my mom moved to the Lower East Side because my family lived in the same floor. Every apartment, there was 5 apartments and they were all first cousins, second cousins.
That's some Dominican New York shit.
And I slept in my cousin's, my aunt's couch, you know, and that's how I grew up until one apartment was available across the hall. And we moved there and then my mom, we were there. But the first time I smoked weed was my cousin across the hall. He was smoking weed at like probably 7. Like this motherfucker was running around with LF. It was a local gang that was like running the streets as La Familia. And so he was like, hey, you want to smoke? And I used to smoke cigarettes, joking around. I didn't even know how to fucking smoke. And so he brought me up to the roof and he was like, yo, you know how to roll? And I was like, yeah, fronting like I know how to fucking roll. And I rolled like a football fucking blunt. And
remember how embarrassing that shit was when you couldn't roll, when you couldn't twist one?
Yeah. Yeah. So now these kids can't even fucking roll.
No, they really can't now. They can't even, like, it's like driving a stick shift. They're like, what? I got this pen. Yeah. So were your cousins in the game? Were people on that floor in the game? Yeah. And were they, who had the wholesale weight? Like if you were 13, 14 and you started like selling off sacks. What was the re-up? How much were you buying? Who had it back then?
I was buying my shit from my cousin.
Got it. And what kind of weed was it?
It was like Arizona shit.
Got it. So it was Mexican weed.
Yeah.
It was Mexico. We're talking like tray bag shit.
Yeah.
Seeds, stems.
Yeah, seeds, stems, all that shit. That's just popping, pop.
Yeah.
You know, when you smoke
Exactly.
that shit.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, there was also like hydro. Some people had the haze
and shit.
You know, I have family on Audubon. So,
right.
you know, I was
so
getting
Audubon
haze from
is
over there.
Harlem.
And Washington Heights.
I'm sorry, Washington Heights. They spill over. One above 155th Street is Washington Heights.
Yeah.
So that was, you know, basically, you know, the Uptown had the best weed, it has the best wholesale everything, right?
Yeah.
So somebody had to connect up there and would bring the hydro or the haze down to downtown.
The hydro and stuff like that was being grown, and like I used to call it like Canadian bacon because it was like that Canadian, you know, the BC shit that we would get.
Well, it's the shit that guys like me would send out from Oregon and Northern California. Yep. We would get it to, you know, I had Dominican buyers in Inwood on like 207th or some shit like that. And, you know, I would get my packs to them, and then they would give it to, you know, guys like your cousin.
And I lived on Dykeman too. I lived on Sherman between 204 and Academy. So
you know all this.
Yeah,
you know all this.
Building 120. You had the fucking the 100-piece sour diesel pieces with the staple 20 on it. That shit was amazing. And then you had 1/7/3 and Audubon. You had the limousine bags. You know, that were like $20, but they were selling them for 15. So everybody was going up there.
So right. So would you actually make trips up there at a young age?
I was doing trips 5, 6, 7 times a day.
You're on the train the whole day?
No. On the FDR driving.
Oh, okay. So, are you able to drive?
Yeah, we were stealing cars and driving up there.
There we go. And you're from New York. You don't know how to drive. I mean, you were never gonna drive in the first place.
Yeah, no, I started driving because I stole my dad's car and learned how to drive. But.
Wow, so you take the FDR just up the west side. No, that's the east side.
East side. Yeah.
Pop in. It's so easy. You pop into Audubon.
You go right on the corner. There was times that, like, when I was on my heyday, I thought I was fucking crazy and I was legal and nobody could stop me. I was driving a fucking Cadillac Fleetwood 22-inch rims. It was in a Dub magazine, my fucking car, with the loudest fucking playing
just
music.
Painting your chest on and come arrest me.
Yeah.
Paint the target on
TVs everywhere. Yeah. There was times when I was playing porno and just fucking making mad noise down, you know, just stupid shit like that.
Yeah.
But fucking driving up to Audubon and driving on the sidewalk, like boom, because the guys are sitting on the milk crate, and I'm just whoop,
So as recent as the late 90s, early 2000s, you have that old school wholesale distribution uptown where Dominicans are just waiting. They're just posted, obvious as fuck, and drug dealers from every part of the Northeast are driving in, like looking around, and they're like. And flagging you over, right?
You were going to Dykeman and Post, and Post was just the traffic line to get through Post was crazy.
Just a cop.
Yeah. You know, it was crazy.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Wow. So that's just a nice little trade. So it sounds like there was a lot of Arizona shit, but there was some haze.
Well, Lower East Side, there was, you know, the first time I got like good, like, haze or some shit like that was from this guy named Bert, you know, or shout out to Bert. He had one eye patch, was bringing the haze down there, so they were getting like, you know, pounds of haze from uptown, and then they had the connectors coming, but then you were paying more. You know?
Prices were insane. So you had to, back then, I know you had to really, it was a risk buying really high end weed back then because you didn't know if people would want to spend it. Yeah. It's not like today where that's the only way you can get off weed is that if it's the best.
Yeah, no, you had the haze was going for like $400, $450 an ounce. You're doing 0.3 dimes.
Yeah,
you know,
which is enough to fill up like a quarter of a Philly paper.
Yeah. And then you have you know, Uptown, they were selling like, you know, 0.5 dimes.
Yeah,
you know? So that was.
Yeah. So you did you have your own sack by this time, or were you just getting it on front? All right, you guys, it's that time. You already know we got to take a minute to shout out our amazing longtime sponsor of the Connect, Mood. Mood is the #1 online dispensary for Delta 8 and Delta 9 products in the entire country. Good friends of ours. Check it out. They have an array of gummies, edibles, concentrates, pre-rolls, flour, anything that you need that is perhaps not legal in your state. It is completely legal online. Delta 8 and Delta 9 products delivered straight to your door, and you gotta get them from Mood, mood.co. Right now, if you go over there and order any product you want from their website and use the promo code CONNECT20, that's CONNECT20, CONNECT20, you'll get 20% off your order. That's not all. If you use the promo code CONNECTFREE, that's CONNECT free, they will give you a free pack of Delta 9 gummies on the house. All you pay for is shipping. You guys, join the future. Go over to hellomood.co and order your Delta 8 and Delta 9 products today. All right, let's get back into the show.
So I was getting, so the first time I bought an ounce was like 1998.
Yeah.
And then I was bagging them up as nickels.
Mm-hmm. And you're in your mom's bathroom or something, right?
I've done that in my mom's bathroom.
We all been there, man. We all been there.
With the fucking marble notebook, like,
exactly,
with the little scale.
Yeah, Mom, leave me alone. I'm just jerking off in here. When did your mom find out what you were up to?
My mom found out when I got locked up, when I was arrested at 13.
Okay, right. And so was that a weed charge?
That was a weed charge.
Yeah, I heard that. You were just smoking though, right?
So I sold 2 bags of weed. Yeah. And then my boy that I sold to, he was like, hey, you want to smoke with me? Mm-hmm. And I was like, hey, let me get that. Yeah. So I went, got a Philly. Yeah. Rolled it up while I was walking. He smoked. He passed it back to me. And then they caught me.
TNT, right?
Yeah.
The sweeps. Yeah. Tactical narcotics team. These are like the Giuliani. This is the Giuliani era. So that people don't realize they would just come sweep you for all this petty crime, window washing, small amounts of drugs. Everybody was going to jail. You ain't getting a ticket.
And you're sitting in that paddy wagon for hours.
Because while you pick it,
and then you're seeing your boy down the block like, yo, they caught me.
Yeah. Because they're not going in. They're not wasting their time with 2 people. They're like, no. We're gonna go till we fill this thing up.
Fill the van up. Yeah. And then you in there, and now you got bookings. You 2-3 days in there. Don't get caught. Somebody posted. They were like, don't get caught today because the judge won't be in until Tuesday.
Wow. So you might be in there all weekend. So over smoking weed, over 2 bags of chronic, a 16-year-old could be sitting in not MDC, but where would they send you for low end offenses?
Manhattan Detention Center.
Oh, right. Okay. So I thought it was just for federal people.
You're going to the tombs. Well, no, you have you have the feds.
Yeah. That's the Fed side.
The Fed side, which is a building down the block, and then you have the local.
Wow. So you just be at that precinct all weekend.
Yeah. The tombs.
The tombs. So I don't know. I mean, drug dealing we were uptown with our boy Unique, and he introduced us to this old, really, really nice Dominican family, and you'd never guess that they used to hold like 100 bricks of coke for him at a time, millions of dollars. He'd be like, I need you to stash this, right? But it's just an accepted thing. Like, white people think it's like this crazy. To Dominicans and Jamaicans and people that are just from a place where drug trafficking is just one of the most economically viable ways to survive. I don't know. It's not really a thought. It's not a big stigma to it, in my opinion, from what I've seen. But was that true with your family and your parents and your mother, or that was like a big no-no?
No, yeah, my mom was like a no. Like,
right.
She thinks she's still like, I'm opening up a dispensary. She thinks she called me an assassin. She said, "Tú eres un asesino, coño." And she thinks marijuana kills people.
Wow.
So that she's been through a lot of trauma with me being incarcerated 9 times and all this shit.
Yeah.
And like, it's a lot.
Yeah.
But my dad has been through, he's seen it. He had his best friend, that he had a bodega with in East New York that got caught with bricks in the bodega. Thank God my dad didn't get involved. Supposedly didn't get involved in that. But, so like he's been through it. He's seen it. Yeah. He's not blind to how that industry works.
Yeah, because your mom's really educated too, right?
Yeah, I mean, she went to school in the Dominican Republic.
I guess she doesn't know the effects of marijuana.
I mean,
she's not educated in that way.
She's smart, like book smart. She studied in DR. She was a teacher, elementary school teacher in DR.
Yeah.
It was just the trauma that they face is because like back then in Dominican Republic in the 50s and 60s where they grew up in the middle of nowhere, there was like little weed farms and they had this like Reaganomic mentality, like you smoke that, you go create the reefer whacking.
Totally.
Shit.
It's island kind of like, culture and beliefs that come from Africa or whatever they come from.
And then they come over here and they have us and then we get involved and it's like, this is the worst thing ever.
It's heartbreaking. I can't imagine for them because they're like, why am I here? I should have just stayed on the island. Exactly. So you had to shake and move from that point on. Did you try to hide it? You really tried to hide it?
I had to hide shit while I was stashing shit in my parents' crib when I was a kid.
Of course you had to hide it, but I mean, did you have to front? Like I always had to front to my parents.
I was smoking in front of my parents. Like my dad used to be like, yo, just stop smoking in the corner because he used to be in the corner like by hanging out in the bodegas and shit. And I was smoking the fire escape. I was just smoking the roof. But they were not going to stop me from being outside. Like if you were in New York and you lived through that era, like you did not want to be inside. Being inside was a punishment.
That's right.
Now these kids, like, I was talking to somebody yesterday about this. Like they look forward to being inside and was stuck with video games. Yeah. Like I hated that shit.
No, back in the day, I mean, I can't even imagine the fucking excitement of running around in the Lower East Side of Manhattan. Man. So, okay, great. So you're breaking your mother's heart. Good job, Coss. I've been there. So
I still love her.
Yeah, of course.
It's actually Mother's Day in Dominican Republic today.
Is it?
Yeah.
Did you give is your grandmother
Happy
still
Mother's Day, Mama.
Nice. Yeah. To all the deportees. Yeah. Did you know anybody related to you in your family that got deported, that got caught with work? Yeah. Got arrested and deported?
My godfather got deported. He got caught with like 18 bricks in the back of a town car. Yeah. And then my uncle, he got, rest in peace, but he got caught with a few bricks and then he snuck back in from the border of Mexico. Yeah. And was still running around, then got caught again and got deported.
So you get caught with 18 bricks. You got to go do your time.
Yeah.
It'd be great if you could just come from a different country and they catch you and they're like, we're just sending you back. But no, they make you sit and then you got to go back.
He did a lot of time.
It's brutal. Yeah. I know there's a lot of kingpins from the 80s though. They probably got away with it and they got a lot of money, sent it back. And, even if they got arrested, did time, now they're back there living off of, the proceeds from that era.
I don't know if you ever been to Dominican Republic, but you should. And if you are like where my family's from is San Francisco de Macorís. It's like San Francisco. It's the third biggest city. You got Santo Domingo, you got Santiago, then you got San Francisco. If you go to my a city where my family's from, there's nothing but mansions. And it's all deported drug dealers. And you have like the Haitian guys with fucking M50s,
the bodyguards, right?
Yeah, standing in front with machetes, like just watching the cribs, and you have these fucking big walls and crazy shit.
Yeah, I'm sure you go to PR too. There's kingpins there now too.
There's more Mercedes-Benz in Dominican Republic in 03 than any country in the world.
Getting it, bro. Germany was, they had a lot of orders. They're like, strangely, there seems to be a lot of wealth on the Dominican Republic.
It's like one of the poorest countries.
Yeah, for sure, dude, for sure. Second only to Haiti, man. Yeah. Wow, that's wild. Yeah, so there you go. And now their kids are into, everybody's growing weed. Everybody, all the Dominicans we met who started off in the coke game, they're sons of the kingpins of the 80s. Everybody's into weed now. But backing up a little bit, how old were you when you sold your first bag of coke?
I was 14.
You were 14. Okay, so and you never stopped selling weed, even in the height of your.
I always had a weed service and a coke service.
Did you feel like that those are really clean drugs? Like I sold both of those. I mean, when the weed started to hit, I put the coke aside, but those are two like staples, you know? What about crack? You told me off pod, you used to sell crack to Hasidic Jews and shit.
Yeah. So I learned how to cook crack after my first stint when I was 15. And then, so my first time I got locked up, well, first time I did time was when I was 15. And then I got sent to a drug program.
Shock?
No, it was a day top.
Oh, okay.
And so in that program, they had escort, like somebody would escort you to your neighborhood.
Right.
And towards the end of your release, it's like work release type of feel. And so I escorted somebody to the Red Hook projects. And it was this,
which was thugging back in the day.
Oh no, Bloods.
Yeah.
Paru was like crazy over there. So like I went over there.
Red Hook's Brooklyn, by the way. Fans.
Yeah. And Red Hook projects was crazy. And the crack game was insane. But that's where I learned how to cook crack.
Right.
When I was 16 years old.
What was the main baking soda, and was there another ingredient?
It was just baking soda.
It was just baking soda.
It was just like free base.
Yeah. You just got to figure out. I think the temperature seems like the hardest part, right? Like when to let it lock up, or is it pretty brainless? Like, could I do it?
No, you could fuck it up, especially if you're having a lot. You know, it all depends on how much Coke and how much baking soda that you're mixing together. Right. You know, and it depends on the Coke. If it's good quality Coke, like you want to get the rawness out of it. So how long did you sell crack for? Did you have your own spot? Like, what did that look like? Yeah. So I sold crack when it was probably when I was like 17, 18. So basically this guy that I inherited the block from, my boy Junebug, he, did his thing for years, the 80s,
what happened to him?
OG dude retired. Yeah. Moved to PA, has doing, out of the game, has kids, family. Hell yeah. Doing the right thing. But he left me the block, and I took it over. So I was there was a lot of crackheads coming up, but I was selling them Coke. Yeah. And the crackheads will go cook up their own Coke. Correct. To free base. Correct. With. Yeah. But then I was getting the connect on the crack game, and then I was so you can make more cooking it down and just give them the crack directly, and move it faster. Yeah. I was doing like dimes of crack. I couldn't really do dimes of Coke. Yeah. It's a lot of sales though, man. So now you're 17, 18. Did you have pitchers and runners and people barking people in? I can't imagine you're touching it. No, it's like around that time I was in front of a stoop just like 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Like there was nobody working harder than me, and like motherfuckers could testify. Like I was a fucking light post on that block. But you didn't keep the work on you though? Huh? I would keep work on me. I was crazy. That's an insane. I would have fucking 50 bags of Coke or crack in my ass crack and just fucking spitting them out, and just like. It's hard to imagine because you're such a sensible, level-headed guy taking those kind of risks. Because by 2004, I mean, everybody's ratting, the jump out, they undercovers are black guys. It's, oh man, you're just taking your life in your own hands, selling krills like that. There was the way that I did it was like they would come to the stoop, they would give me the money, I would hit them with a walkie-talkie message on the top of the roof. And my boy, we would know like every cab, we would know like undercover cabs and undercover cars. This is really interesting. You'd know it by the numbers. The numbers on the top of the cab, like 2W4 or 61 and 6W61, some shit like that. And you would see the bottom of the license plate. So the bottom of the license plate is supposed to match the top of the yellow cab. Right. The D's didn't match that. Right. They would have like a longer thing. So we would see them creeping from all the way down Eldridge, up Eldridge here. And, we would, and so you would just turn and walk. You would just go in the building until they left. Right. And would you ever know that an undercover was walking up, and would he ever ask you for something? And you'd be like, yo, I'm just chilling. There's been times, there was one time I was out there for like 3 days, and there's this Spanish guy, I didn't know he was a cop. He came up to me. I'm sitting there. It's like 5 a.m. The sun is rising. And he's like, yo, bro, you made a lot of money. If you don't get out of here in 2 hours, we're going to come and raid you. About to be a sweep. And he pulled out his badge, and I'm like, And my boy, I was with Junebug at that time, and he's like, we fucking was like,
Wow.
thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, we owe you a couple years of our life. Yeah.
We went upstairs for like a couple hours,
Bro, you
came
guys
right
were
back down.
You just threw it right in his face. Just gave him a big fuck you. Wow. Yeah, that's something. So you never got collared in like a buy bus like that?
Not like that.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, you're one of the few, man. Smart. Yeah. So at what point, it must have been the gentrification then, the encroachment of white people that had that $100, no problem to spend, where you said, enough with this hard white shit. I'm focusing on powder.
But it was not like just a 1-day transition
overnight,
because I was not going to say no to the people that have been buying from me for
crack.
years, you know, and then I had started getting this higher end clientele that was buying more. Yeah. And so for me, it was just like, you know, I'll sell you I was selling like 0.8, 0.750s. And then the white people were like buying it for $100, you know? So whoever called first, I'm just, right. I'm still making a profit.
So you're selling it till I'm out of it.
Yeah.
And eventually
and
it was
more. And then, you know, and then eventually I was like, fuck the block.
There's too many people calling me up.
Oh, we couldn't.
There's no time to spend on the block anymore.
We couldn't.
When did the block end? Like really, there's very little street drug dealing in my opinion anymore.
2004, 5.
It's about it.
For me.
Yeah, and when in general do you think?
In general, I mean, it still happens, but it's not. I think probably while I was locked up, you know, like probably right before the 2010s. You know? Yeah. So how does a crack spot, and then we'll get back to your story. How does a crack spot in a project building in the Lower East Side look now? Is it just like, it's just out of an apartment and they just send people up? Or is it bodega? It's really all phone. Yeah. You call somebody, you meet up with them, or you know, it's just all phone. Yeah. There is spots, you know, like K2 is crazy right now.
Oh yeah. K2 is huge. I that's all I read about.
Like
what the fuck is that?
K2 is like the new crack. Like there's literally the K2 spot on my block still.
What is that? Everybody in Rikers is overdosing on it, apparently.
They call it synthetic marijuana, but it's nothing. There's no marijuana in it. I don't know. It's like...
Is it like spice? Remember that shit, spice?
It is spice.
Okay, that's what it is.
So it's like they I don't know what they put, like fucking rabbit food or whatever, but they spraying chemicals on it.
Yeah, I smoked that once. It takes you into like this hole. It's the wildest shit. And then you run around like screaming in hysterics, like laughing. And it lasts like less than 5 minutes. Yeah. So if you can turn a trade, if you can actually make that an industry. Well,
they have that shit as clockwork, 24 hours a day. There's some dudes that are on my old block, not like a block away from there, but they're out there. I don't know where they're from. They're not from the Lower East Side.
Really?
But they have
what kind of Spanish
black dudes.
Spanish kids, black dudes?
Yeah, they're running shifts out there. You know?
Yeah, that might not even be a Schedule 1 drug. Yeah,
no, it's not even in the schedule. It's not even illegal.
Look at that workaround. That's wild, bro. You know? But I think
they selling $5 sticks.
Wow, holy shit! How they change? Things change and they don't. Yeah. You know. So okay, good. So now you're too busy working off the phone. What's your re-up like? How many bricks are you picking up?
I was just getting 1 or 2 bricks at a time.
Of course, right? Why do you need any more?
We were flipping a brick a week.
And what are you all out in grams, halves, 8 balls?
Just grams.
Just grams.
Yeah.
You wouldn't sell any more than a gram?
No.
Even if it was requested?
There was times I sold more than that, yeah.
So if somebody was like, I want a ball, you just be like, well, you're going to have to buy 3 grams.
No.
You wouldn't sell me 3 grams.
I would sell you 3 grams at $300.
Right. There's no price. There's no break.
There's no break.
Wow.
You know, but I was getting the brick, 1,000 grams, and then I was just making 1,000 transactions.
Backs. Wow. Look at how clean. The simplicity of it is brilliant. Yeah. So you're selling you got 1,000 packs. You got 1,000 little.
I was making like about revenue was 100,000.
Yeah.
But there was deals and stuff like that. I was probably making about 80 when you pay off the workers and stuff like that. So we were doing like 24 packs to the drivers. Yeah. So every driver kept 4 bags and they sold 20 bags for us.
Gotcha. Okay. So the payment was in blow.
for my drivers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. But would they sell to the same people that had your line?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's
You know?
$400.
Yeah.
$400 to sell 24 pack.
They were rotating 2, 3, 4. Like the best drivers were running like 5, 6 rounds of 24 packs
a day.
Wow.
So they're making couple
they're
G's
making a couple thousand
just to roll around. And how much are they carrying at one time?
A 24 pack.
So okay. So all right. So and you had traps. You stashing them in traps, electronic at this point, or just the kind that you pull down?
No.
Electronic?
Manual.
Okay, tell us about a trap. We love traps.
So one trap that I had was in the steering wheel, the horn.
Yep.
And so you could pop out the horn and you could stick your hand right in it.
Yeah.
And so that was it.
That's a classic one.
Yeah.
Now, did any driver ever get popped just getting pulled over, like on a fluke?
Yeah. Not too many, but yeah.
And would they bring a dog out, or how do you get to the coke in the trap?
No, they got caught like red-handed, like shit, like, you know, in their pocket, or I don't know. They got caught like doing a transaction or something like that.
Okay. But did you have any undercover buys?
When I got my big case, yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
okay.
There was about 40 sales.
Okay, gotcha. But you know, I tell people like it's buying coke at wholesale and selling it at retail, especially when you have the line on the good plug. It's the best, safest way to do it, because if I'm selling 20 pounds of weed, I'm giving it to drug dealers, and they're giving it to their dealers, and they're giving it dealers. And I got 12 people involved that might get popped and turn around. If I'm you, I'm selling a gram to Robert De Niro. He's not wired for the feds. He's going to go sniff that shit and it's done. Right.
Yeah.
It was anonymous. It
was simple. So when I was on the block and like hustling, I was getting stopped 2-3 times a day.
Yeah.
By cops. They would just roll up on me and get me on the wall, search me.
Yeah.
You know, and that was just like, we'll see him coming up, we'll get on the wall. And it was just like a normal shit.
Exactly.
When I was dealing with like fucking high-end people, I didn't have to deal with any of that anymore.
None of it. You're off the block.
And we were wearing suits.
Yeah. I love that.
The whole suit shit came because I caught a case when I was 18. I got caught with like 20 bags of weed, like I don't know, it was like 30 bags of coke and 30 bags of crack, and I had it in my seam of my jacket. And
how do you get out of that? That's so much.
I mean, I got caught.
This guy, no, but I'm saying, but how much time?
I got 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you actually do that, or was that suspended?
I did shock at that time.
You did shock.
Yeah.
Okay. Which is the drug program. So like, I know that because I read 50 Cent's book.
Yeah.
Like, or that's
so
like
I went
a camera
to the same
line.
spot as 50 Cent.
Okay. Yeah. So you could get a gang of time. They have the same shit in Oregon. I didn't qualify for it though.
No, it's only 3 years. So back then you only could get it once. You get it for your first offense.
Right.
Now they changed the rule. You could get it unlimited amount of times.
So you could literally be sentenced to 3 years, 5 years. And if you qualify for this program,
you only get it at your third, when you have 3 years left to your release.
Oh, okay.
So if I got 3 years, I'm sitting in Rikers for a little bit. I'm upstate for a little bit. And then I'm going to start the program for 6 months.
Gotcha. So how much time total did you do?
A year.
Okay. Got it. So that shock is a drug program. You do your time, you do this program. It's like boot camp or something.
Yeah.
And it wipes out the rest of a whole big ass sentence.
As ex-Marines turn correctional officers, and they beat the fuck out of you.
Yeah.
I mean, that shit is not easy. Most motherfuckers don't even want to deal with this shit.
They're like, I'd rather
do my 3 years and not go to shock. But for me, it was like, I need to get back on the block. I'm going to do 6 months, get the hell out.
Did you leave the business to somebody while you had to go in?
Yeah. So I didn't start the business by myself. I started it with my boy, like my right-hand man.
Right.
And I got locked up. I did shock. I came home. I took over the business. He got locked up. He got shocked. And then it was perfect. Like we were in and out, you know. But when I came home, that's when it like he took it from, you know, maybe $1 million business to like a $5 million business. Yeah. You know, because it was just so busy.
Yeah. And were you worried at all? Like the main thing is you can't lose those numbers. You can't lose the line, because that is what leads you to all the customers. Even though it's pretty easy to get coke customers in New York, you give excellent coke to one person and they tell 10 people. But
yeah.
so I imagine, what was I going to ask you? So you're buying, and what are you paying on a brick, on a kilo?
21, 22. I paid 18 at the cheapest.
Yeah.
You know, I paid 30 at the highest.
Yeah. And are your plugs Dominican?
Puerto Rican.
Puerto Rican.
So when I was running out of my Puerto Rican connect, then I was getting it from the Dominicans uptown.
So yeah, okay.
Or was I had a cousin that was flipping bricks up there.
Gotcha. So you had several suppliers?
Yeah, but the shit up there was not as good as straight from PR.
Okay, so
yeah, like I knew it was cut.
Yeah, right. So essentially, when you bought from the PR, you were going around. The Dominicans uptown were just getting it from PR and giving it to you. You were kind of getting middleman. I don't know where they were
getting from. They might have got it from somebody else.
But they were middleman.
They were middleman.
You were getting it middled to you.
Yeah.
Right. And Dominicans.
And I had to go over there because I would run out. And then the next shipment order wouldn't come.
Right. So you actually knew when there would be a load coming from the PR. And so your plug could be like, you know, we got new stuff coming in. So you could actually predict when a drought would be, when it was going to get wet.
Yeah, there was, yeah.
Did you go through a drought?
Yeah.
Like when a shipment?
That's when I was paying like 30 a brick uptown.
Oof. Yeah. And for lower quality shit. Yeah. Would you hear complaints when you had to go uptown and buy it for 30? Would you notice the calls start to slow down?
Yeah. No, the calls didn't really slow down, but some people would be like, oh, this is okay. It's not the best.
Would you tell your drivers to tell when they were dropping off the lower quality? Would you have to be like, hey, sorry, this is...
No, we just
take it.
Try to get, but I was just trying to get
just
rid
take
of
it, you fucking junkie. Why is everybody bitching?
No, but so basically the shit that they were selling uptown in the street, like hand-to-hand transaction, that shit was pure. But when you would buy,
how does that make any sense?
So they were cut it if it was a big order, you know, and so but
again, that doesn't seem fair.
So to get the notoriety of your block, you have to have the best work. Have the best shit. So you're not gonna cut your shit for the corner guys. You're gonna keep that shit.
And this isn't back in the day when you have just 100 keys stashed. Like you might only have 2 bricks, and if you want a whole block, I got to make it stretch. Yeah, that makes sense.
So what I would do, I would go uptown and I would buy all the work from the kids on the corner.
Wow.
So they were selling 0.5 dubs.
Yeah, that's $20 for 0.5 grams.
Yeah, and then I would, sell those for 50 in the street.
So how many could you buy at a time?
I was sweeping them out off the block.
Give me as much as you have right now.
Let me get everything, but I was giving them $15.
Right.
I'll be like, yo, give me $15.
And I'll buy you out all your work.
Yeah, I'll buy a couple hundred bags off of them.
Right. So if you bought 200 half grams, that's 100 grams. Yeah. So you're just doing what you had to do.
Yeah.
Wow.
But that work was incredible.
That's fucking
And that was in front of my building when I was living up there.
Yeah, right.
160, building 160.
Yeah. Okay, great. So that's just the nature of the coke game, right? If it's coming off the ship and it gets picked up, and customs grabs it. Now, did your connect from the PR, was he a Puerto Rican guy or was he just getting it from PR?
No, he's Puerto Rican.
He's Puerto Rican. Yeah. Did he ever get pinched or were you working with him the whole time?
I was working with them.
Nice. So you're copping a brick or two at a time. Your stash is, you move your stash around?
I've bought in more bricks before for different orders and shit like that, but that was pretty much the operation.
If he predicted a drought, would you get more?
No, I was getting shit for like other people, like my boys that would, requesting half of bricks and
so you would give love like that sometimes.
So, I would get a couple points off of it.
Oh, okay. So you would basically just do that because you knew these guys were solid, showing love. Yeah. Okay. So, and your stashes, you had kept everything in Manhattan where you bagged it up, where you held it?
Bronx and Manhattan.
Why the Bronx?
It was just easy to get the Upper East Side, Upper West Side.
Right. Of course. Yeah. You just fly up the FDR again.
Yeah. Well, so I was in the Lower East Side. We had a stash crib in the Lower East Side. We had a stash crib in the Upper West Side, and then we had a stash crib in the Bronx.
Right.
The Bronx would hit like that northern,
right,
Upper East Side.
Yeah.
way faster.
Right.
The Lower East Side, we could get anywhere between like, 42nd Street down
Right.
in 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah. What was your busiest area? The most profitable?
Lower East Side.
Yeah. 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 Because you have the financial district, you have the richest neighborhood, Tribeca.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to Wall Street every day.
Wall Street. Yeah. Now,
and I was going, and when Williamsburg started
to pop, of course.
That we were
jump
there,
over the bridge.
We were there
all fucking day, right?
Yeah, we went to Williamsburg all the time.
And these can't be all bankers. These have just got to be like
New
Yorkers with jobs.
Yeah, I mean, it was like professionals, young professionals, you know, whether you're doing like marketing or, being a doctor or nurse or whatever.
Yeah.
There was like this brain surgeon that we fucking gave coke to and do one of the perform brain surgery. We had to hold him down not to go to perform brain surgery one time.
You told that story.
Yeah. There was a judge that, was buying shit off of me.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy.
Yeah. But you're not delivering it. So who's making the new connection?
I was delivering it.
You were involved in delivery still?
Not at my
at
peak
your height,
point.
right?
Yeah, not at my peak point, but when I was running around,
wow.
I was driving.
And
crazy.
you served. So did you actually serve Robert De Niro? We got to get this on.
So not hand to hand, not to Rob, but his man Robert De Niro was there, and he gave me the nod, and the guy was like, "Yo, let me get."
Yo. Let me keep it 100 with you, Coss. Let me keep it 100. When I first heard that you had served Robert De Niro a bag of Coke, I was 50-50. I was like, I don't know if I believe this motherfucker. Then the other week, I opened the paper and I see that this guy just had another kid at 78 years old. I'm like, that motherfucker does Coke. Coss ain't lying, dude.
Nah, he has another kid.
Yeah, he just had a kid, bro. He's that guy. He's becoming that rich New York scumbag.
I mean, he could do whatever the fuck he wants. But
no, we ain't mad at him, but I'm just saying.
It was the
he's
whole,
fucking still. My point is he's smashing young pussy. He's also definitely doing some
maybe
Coke.
he has like that shit that puts his fucking dick hard. There's like a button thing.
No.
Yeah.
Please tell me. I need this.
Well, anyway, so I was on the corner. This is like before the service happened. Mm-hmm. I was on the corner. And this guy, they had a party. There was a corner hotel that just opened up on Forsyth and Broome. And this guy came to the bodega on the corner right there on Forsyth and Broome. Mm-hmm. And I was just saying like, yo, I got blow.
Right.
And so the guy was like, oh, really? Meet me upstairs.
Right.
We're having a party up there. And so I was like, I go up there. Boom. He goes, gets the money. I see Robert De Niro. He's fucking hanging out with him. And then he comes up to me, gives me the money, and I'm like, oh, shit.
His handler did,
yeah,
right?
Yeah. Or I don't know.
Wow. So think about that brush up. Like you served De Niro off the corner.
Yep.
That's wild, bro. That's fucking wild.
And Lindsay Lohan, same shit.
Right.
Paris Hilton was straight hand to hand.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Was she, how much were you serving her?
No, that was just one time. She,
okay.
Natasha Lyon was the one that brought her in the yellow cab.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she bought like, I don't know, it was 20, 30 bags of Coke. I was selling dubs at that time.
Yeah. So wild, great business. So if you got barked somebody off the block, right? One of these people, these high-end people, clearly these ain't cops. They got a lot of money to spend. Would you immediately get their contact? Would you give out your number?
Yeah. I was giving them my business cards.
The business cards, right? And you're
so
like,
the way I was approaching people was with weed.
Right.
Because I was smoking 50 blunts a day. I was smoking nonstop. I was smoking 2 packs of cigarettes, 50 blunts a day. I would buy a box of Phillies almost every day.
All right. You might call that overkill.
Yeah.
One might describe that as too much.
That's why my mom said my mom is traumatized.
Yeah, Jesus God.
So, but yeah, no, I was smoking nonstop, and then I would be smoking all the time, and I would see like you and be like, "Yo, Johnny, what's up? How's it going, buddy?
Right.
You want to smoke some weed with me?" And they'll be like, "Oh, sure, I'll take a couple pulls." That you're already fucking tipsy.
Was Buddy what you use around white people to put them at ease, right?
Yeah.
I would immediately disliked you if you had called me Buddy. But you didn't know. But you don't know about I have brawling.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
But you if I'm giving you some fire weed, you're like, "Oh shit, yeah."
Right.
All right. You're not, you know.
Right, of course. And also,
you
too,
call me whatever the fuck you want.
Right. And also, too, you know the difference between a guy like me and a New Yorker.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna think twice when a guy with a thick Brooklyn accent walks up to you and he's chiseled, right? Like
that's
that dude,
a cop.
that's fuzz. That's
cop.
fuzz. No guy like me that moves from wherever I'm from, Indianapolis. He's not working for the NYPD. So the accent has got to put you at ease right away.
And they had like the beaded chains. Like they would try to come up and you would notice that
you notice the jewelry that fucking
the beaded fucking little chain, and that was their fucking
that's their badge. That's their because they have to have it on them, right?
Yeah.
So you'd be like, beat it. Yeah.
I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Yeah. Say it again.
I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
I love that. I love that, dude. I've actually tried to buy drugs in the projects a couple of times way back in the day, and they told me to beat it. And I'm like, that's so sad, bro. I'm not I literally make
come on, buddy.
I make $100,000 a month shipping weed out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's wild. Okay. So you would rope, it would be the soft sell, get people in on the less serious drug, weed, and then slip in.
Yeah.
I got this too.
Marijuana is a gateway drug.
Yeah, exactly. Wow. So, okay. Now so your height, you're moving a kilo a week, 1,000 stones a week.
Yep.
You're moving, and you can
Stones.
turn, pocket full of stones, baby. That's what we call it out here, right? We stole it from the South, UGK. So you're making about 60 off a brick. Right. Well,
100,000.
Yeah. Well, but your profit is about 60.
Yeah. 60. Yeah.
So it's a huge amount of money. Are you turning this money over? Are you thinking I got to wash this? I got to open businesses? Cause you're a smart kid.
No, I was not that smart.
You weren't thinking that far ahead.
we were like, we want to start businesses. We want to buy homes. We didn't know what we were doing.
But the goal was to get out.
Yeah, no. We definitely want it, but it's hard to get out, because are you going to say no to money?
Yeah.
A lot of people are like, yeah, get out, and then if you ever do that transition, you're going to go from making in your business a small amount of money compared to this daily transaction that just doesn't stop.
Right.
This flow, like it's hard to say no.
Did you buy any real estate while you were hustling?
We were trying to do some shit like that.
But it's hard. You were so young, bro. It's like the same with me. Like we were in your early 20s.
Yeah.
You're just not sophisticated.
No, well, we went and I don't know if you remember those foreclosure commercials.
I mean,
buy a foreclosure home.
Of course.
Of course. And so we got caught up in that scheme and we lost a good chunk of money.
Oh no, you got ripped off?
Yeah, I got ripped off by white people, man, on TV. Yo, you fuck you guys.
God damn, yeah. No, trust me, there's plenty of black people doing that now too. Damn, so you got ripped off for your drug money, which hurts.
Yeah.
Still, it's money is money.
And we tried doing that, and then we just like whatever, fuck that shit.
Yeah,
like,
we'll just go. And do you bury money, stash money?
Like, we didn't bury money. We had little safe box.
Yeah, there's nowhere to bury it in New York.
Yeah,
you got to go upstate.
I don't know.
There's no grass. You guys ain't never seen a lawn before. You don't know shit about a lawn. So while you're
Central Park.
Yeah, exactly right. So while you're moving all this coke, do you also have drivers for weed?
Yeah.
So tell us about the weed side of it real quick.
So
what's your re-up like?
So we had...
And who's your connect?
There was a lot of connects on the weed side. But I was getting shit from like real sour diesel, not the shit that you cannot find anymore.
Right.
I got caught with like 5 pounds of sour in my last case. We were getting shit.
Did you have a West Coast connect or was it uptown?
Uptown.
Okay.
The haze was uptown. Like they were growing it uptown.
Yeah.
The Cubans were bringing it uptown.
What? What about that? I don't get that. Cubans?
So Cubans brought the haze to the Heights.
Interesting. Because you know why? Because it grown in Florida usually. So they're probably a lot of Jamaicans bring that shit up too.
Yep.
There's a lot of grown in Florida.
So the story is that there was a Cuban that got seeds from Amsterdam that put the haze down, and the haze came from Florida.
Yeah.
And then they brought it up to the Heights.
We're getting a lot of that shit too, bro. You probably move one of my packs, bro.
But the haze is there's only a small amount of people with the mother plant
right
in the city that still have it.
Right,
you know?
right.
So I'm trying to sell that when I open up my dispensary.
Oh, okay.
Like,
okay. Interesting. Yeah. I never actually cared about strains and the science behind it. Like to me, it was like, this is either indoor weed or outdoor. That's just how we talked.
Yeah.
Indoor was
but you were moving weight, right?
Yeah.
You were moving like
probably 50 a week.
Yeah,
wholesale.
no, I'm like breaking shit down.
You're still breaking down even.
Oh, I'm breaking down
everything. So you would cop like a 5-pack.
5-pack.
Like a 5 pounds at a time or something?
Yeah, 5 pounds, even a pound, even 2 pounds.
Okay.
It depended. Like
wow, so you were really buying, you were just retail.
Yeah.
Buying wholesale, breaking it down retail.
And I grew weed like 20 years ago, but I was doing like the hydroponic systems that was growing like 16 plants at a time.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that was never coming out like the piff or the sour, which was the demand.
Right.
I was growing a lot of that Canadian bacon shit that I was telling you, the BC type of hydro shit, but I was selling that. At one point, I grew a lot of it, and I fucking was selling like fucking sacks. I was not even weighing it. I was just filling up the bag and I was just giving it out for like $10. You know? And so that was moving. But the sour, we were getting it from different people, people that grew it, people in the neighborhood, and then there was a group of Colombians in Brooklyn
that had it.
Yeah, that had it.
Oh, interesting. So, God, this is getting pretty complicated. You're just sales.
Well, we had a separate runners and
for weed.
For weed.
Okay, gotcha.
So there was never a driver that was running around with coke and weed at the same time.
So you could never, if somebody got popped with weed, it would never link back to the coke.
No, and
gotcha.
they had it's a separate business card. It was Trees for Pleasure. That was the brand. That was the brand.
Yeah.
And it was like an actual tree, and it looked nice on the business card.
Right. It's very friendly.
Yeah. And then we had the first card was Happy Endings, and that was not a good branding up.
Isn't that because it was a jerk joint that you originally started?
Yeah. Well, there was
a
the
jerk
club.
off massage parlor, right?
Yeah, no, it was a massage parlor before that, but then there was when the neighborhood started getting gentrified, they opened up a club, and it was called they took that same space that was at Real Happy Endings.
That makes sense.
They turned it into Happy Endings.
Yeah.
And then I started selling coke and weed out of there. And then I was like, it made it seem like I worked for the club. And I had, like the Real Happy Ending logo.
Yeah.
And I was giving it to everybody that was going in there.
Did they ever get raided because they thought you were involved?
There was times that they were running in there and like searching, and you know the DEA was running around in there, but they didn't really get raided and kick people out.
Right. Okay. That actually reminds me. Now, what activity the law enforcement bodies, because it's just bewildering in New York City. You have the New York Police Department. You have the TNT, which I don't even think is a thing anymore, TNT, because there's no corner. Nobody's moving off the corner anymore, so there's no street rips.
We used to call it Tuesday and Thursday.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, you fucked Mark Gagnon up with that one, but I know exactly what he was talking about. Then you have the feds, then you have the state police, then you have your special narcotics teams that are like part of the NYPD, but they're undercovers. Who's most active in hunting hand-to-hand dealers like you in New York? Like, is it
it has to be that narcotic group in NYPD.
Yeah.
But then there's also that narcotic group, but then there's like the DEA agent that has like the Manhattan North, Manhattan South, Brooklyn North, Brooklyn South. There's like different regions that they're covering inside the city.
Right.
Because they're doing deeper investigations. It's not you got NYPD with their narc group,
right?
That's doing like, you know, that bullshit hand-to-hand shit. But then you have like the DEA that's doing like deeper, like they were investigating me for a year.
They're trying to get to your guy, I think.
Yeah, no,
you know
they wanted me to snitch on my people.
Right, because you are, even though you're a millionaire, you're still a hand-to-hand dealer at the end of the day, which is a great place. Now, did you choose, consciously to stay at that level because you did not want to catch a Fed case? Or was that just like...
No, that was...
That's just where the market was.
No, that was us... limiting our risks.
Yes.
You know,
okay. So that was a conscious decision.
Yeah, that was and the 24 bag stuff was a conscious decision.
Why?
We didn't want to go over an ounce, you know,
Right.
or have people with 2 packs out there.
Right. An ounce is 28 grams.
So after 2 ounces of coke on you're hit with a life sentence. In New York.
Yeah, that's a New York state law.
So it's state law, but not you're not doing like life. You're doing like 1 to life, 2 to life, 3 to life.
Right.
Like
those laws were still in the book?
No, those
are the
were
Rockefeller laws, right?
laws. Wow. And I was facing that. And,
at the time they were still on the books.
Yeah, when
that's
when
what they threw
when
at
they
you.
changed it, I was going back and forth to
chills
court.
on my arm, bro.
And I was facing 15 to life because they were trying to hit me with a kingpin charge,
Right.
but they couldn't hit me with a kingpin charge
Right.
because they had to get me with a sale over a half a brick or a brick or some shit like
Right,
that. That was
right.
the book. Like I had to actually sell, and I was
Right.
only selling increments.
Right. Okay. This
You know?
this
So
makes sense.
That was a conscious decision on our part to like we're not selling over
So
that.
isn't that interesting? It's actually better in that era of the Rockefeller laws. It was better as a drug dealer to either get caught with less or way more, because then at least I go do the Fed minimum, which if I get caught with a kilo, maybe I only go do 5 in the Feds, right? It's like the same way in Texas. It would be better to get caught with 100 pounds of weed back then, because then you go do 3 to 5 in the Feds, than like a couple of ounces, because then you might be doing 5 in state prison.
Yeah.
Fucking weird, man.
Yeah,
crazy, psychotic laws. So basically when you got pinched and took your big fall, DEA was part of it, but they chose to not pick the case up.
No, they didn't turn it into a feds. So they brought me into the precinct.
Yeah.
They were trying to get me to snitch on my connects. That was not happening. One thing that around that time was if you got caught with a gun in your case, you basically went down to the feds.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, exactly.
And so I had 2 burners under my sink, and they never found that.
And they never found them. Okay, I guess we'll cover that really quickly. But you're really not a gangster.
No,
like you're a businessman.
Yeah.
Front to back.
I mean, I've gone into fights. I've done.
Did you ever get into gunfights? Did you ever have to bust at anybody that was trying to rob you?
No, but I've pulled out. Yeah.
Right. But
I
these
didn't
are
shoot nobody.
But this is before the money really.
No, this is when I was dealing crack in the street.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I figured by the time real money started to come in,
I was dealing with white people.
Yeah. Yeah. God. Once again, I mean, look what whites can do for you. Just let us in and we'll bring money to you, bro. Okay. Got it. So you just kept a piece at your place of residence, your personal residence.
Stash house.
Okay. Just a stash, just in case, but you never had a stash that got robbed?
Yeah.
How was that an inside job? Because how else is somebody going to find it's got to be, right?
We were being super hot. You know,
we're coming in and out, in and out.
We're driving crazy vehicles.
Yeah.
We're dressing crazy. We're mad loud. We're coming in as a group, leaving as a group. You know,
Okay, so you guys,
and this is a stash house in the projects too.
Oh, so you guys are just fucking. You guys are fucking up. You're just fucking up. You get robbed. It's crazy. Like keep your shit tight.
And maybe it was an inside fucking job.
How much did you get taken for?
So this is the crazy part that they took. I think it was like 2 or 3 pounds of weed from the safe.
Yeah.
And they left all the coke behind.
On purpose, or they just didn't find it?
That shit was, as soon as I walked in, that shit was in the fucking desk.
How much? Like a bird?
It was about a bird bagged up. Like it was just all bags.
I mean, look, I've been on both ends of robberies.
Yeah.
And when you're going
they had time. They tied up all my people.
So they had time.
Not there. They had time. They tied up the people. They got guns out. They
made somebody open the safe.
Yeah,
obviously.
They made somebody open the safe.
Oh, this is weird. So
they took the pounds out of the safe. They took a little bit of, there was cash. I mean, maybe $5,000-$10,000 sitting around. And the coke was all in the desk. Like, it was being bagged up pretty much.
So weird. Maybe they were like, hey, our hustle's weed. We can get this weed off, but
I don't think they probably even seen it. I mean, it was like in the far corner. Yeah. But for me, like walking in, I'm like, what the fuck?
So you walked in on your stash with everybody tied up?
No, they got out of the tie.
Okay,
they
got
got
it.
tied with belts that they had.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Well, that'll happen.
Yeah.
So that you got hit a couple of times, but
That was the only time I personally got hit, and then one of my partners back then got hit one time.
right, his stash or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. How did you keep? What was your mitigating? How did you mitigate risk against informants in your organization? Because you got how many drivers now?
So it was like 20 something drivers.
A lot of people.
2 different shifts. So basically stuff was getting bagged in a separate house and dropped off to the dispatcher. The dispatcher was giving out the work.
Right.
So they would meet the dispatcher and when they were running low.
How many? Okay.
And so the dispatcher only had, maybe a couple 100 grams of coke, maybe more, a little bit more.
Okay.
At a time.
How many people did you have bagging it up for you?
2 people.
You don't need a lot of people.
Yeah.
You're not stepping on it. You're not doing anything. You're not cooking it. You're not weighing. You're just literally weighing it. Did you have it in vials, the glass with the tops?
Mm-mm.
You had it in plastic
Just
bags.
glassy in little small bags.
Okay, got it.
I've fucked around with vials and all that shit, but it's just a waste. That shit fucking takes
too expensive.
Takes more time.
Oh, interesting. Yeah,
like,
that's true.
You got fucking
good point. Good point. Right?
With the bags, you're like.
Time is of the essence. Amazing. Factory.
There was
line.
times where I was running out of glassine bags and I'm like carrying just like 100 grams of coke in the car, and the phone. This is when I was like doing deliveries by myself.
Yeah.
And I didn't have time to bag up, so I'm like eyeballing it, and
Yeah.
putting it in aluminum foil, a piece of paper,
right,
and just selling it out of the window of the car.
Wow, wild, man. Okay, so then how did the case get built? Who's snitching? Did they have a wiretap? Let's go into that.
So basically the way they found out about us was that one guy got caught. This guy that got caught with a business card. That business card was a separate number that one of my dispatchers was created. So we had a lot of phones because all the phones only held 2,500 contact numbers.
Okay.
So we always had to get more phones.
Yeah.
And like create new business cards with different numbers
to get the
and all
new
this
numbers.
shit.
Right.
And so
and you're buying track phones from 7-Eleven, I assume, right?
It was T-Mobile prepaid T-Mobile shit.
Did you send a different person in? Did you hire somebody just to go in and buy the phones? Or
no, we had to connect in the store.
Great.
Yeah.
Great.
So my boy
probably Dominican.
He was Dominican. So
it's a stereotype, and just you guys stick together.
Yeah. and then I was getting then I was supplying cars for every driver too.
Right.
So I had a Dominican dude at one of the rental companies. I'm banned from those rents. It was like Avis and another. There's like a parent company.
You were using rental cars?
So all my drivers are getting rental cars.
Right.
So I'm getting rental cars for all my drivers, and we're switching them up.
Yeah.
So people don't get fouled and tracked and all that shit.
Wow. This is this is a heavy logistical operation you have.
We were getting rental cars for like $15 a day.
Oh, the plug.
It was amazing. Because we were like in this big family plan and all that shit. And they were questioning me, how was I getting all the vehicles? And I was not giving up my connect.
Right.
But I tried to rent the car like when I came home from prison, and they were like, we have a problem with you, sir. You cannot step back into this building. Like,
you got a lifetime ban.
Yeah, like
at Avis.
Yeah.
No, but you had a Dominican, you had a guy on the inside.
So I had a guy on the inside with the phones, and then somebody else created another phone. The dispatcher.
Yeah, because he wanted to clip off your clients.
And so he was clipping off my clients. Yeah. He couldn't get the same work that I was getting. He was getting work that was
not as good.
This shit was trash. Right. And then he was putting them in blue glassine bags. Uh-huh. And so a client called me and was like, yo, what the fuck is this shit? I got this blue bag. This should burn my nose, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, what the fuck is you do? We don't sell that shit. He was like, yeah, the guy in the green truck brought it. I'm like, what? So I was like, okay, let me see. So I called the dispatcher, and the guy in the green truck was his cousin that was running for him. So that was part of our group too.
Yeah.
So I called them. I called that number that my client gave me. I hear this motherfucker's voice. He shuts off right away. He had about a quarter of a brick in the stash house, had all the phones, and ran away.
Okay, so he ran for it because he recognized your voice on the other end.
Yep. And because I was cursing. I was like, oh, what the fuck is he doing?
Yeah.
I heard these blue bags, all this shit, blah, blah, blah. He's like,
So how did that lead back to the cops?
So now that phone that he started, that he was stealing customers, I guess he was marketing that number out there.
Right.
And that phone was being tapped by the DEA. And
Gotcha.
so when I went to go get the phones back from him, he disappeared with the phones, but I had that number. So I told my Dominican dude in the T-Mobile store, like, yo, bro, like,
give me a new one.
Give me this same number because he's been
with the new phone.
Yeah, with the new phone.
Right.
So now I got all these phones.
And now you got one with the
and
wire
one
on
being
it.
tapped.
Yeah.
And I'm sending clients on that
Of
phone.
course. So now it's a wrap. Now they're tying everything together. How did they originally get up? How did the DEA originally get up on that first number? Did you ever find that out?
I don't know.
A buy bust, that guy, he could have been selling wholesale to a guy. You never know.
I don't know why.
You never found that out.
He never snitched. He just robbed me.
Right. But I'm just trying to figure out how the law first got on to that number.
Yeah.
Who knows? They just popped somebody and they turned and rolled.
Yeah.
Or
they just was out in the street.
Yeah.
And they picked up that car. I don't fucking know.
Right. How long after you got that number back, that tapped phone number, did your case?
It was a year.
So they were following you around for a year. They had a lineup. Dude, your discovery paperwork must have looked like the Bible.
40 sales. So they said I made a sale. I never made a sale. One of my drivers was left his car somewhere, and he was like, "Yo, Coss, can you pick me up?" And then after this dispatcher, it was only me and my right-hand man running the phones. And so we didn't trust anybody.
Right.
And so we're sending, and so one of my drivers, he's down the block. He's like, yo, I hit him up with the walkie-talkie on the next cell. And I tell him like, yo, go see this guy. He's like, oh, I don't got my car on me right now, but can you take me over there? So I went to front of the BBQs on 23rd and 8th. And I pick up this guy, and I automatically had a bad feeling.
Yeah.
I was like, this motherfucker looked like a cop, like straight cop.
Why didn't you say, hey, I got to go pick up my daughter?
He called the phone, we like pretty much, like you said, like when you have good coke, every friend is giving it out.
Yeah.
And so we had his number saved. He's been served.
He's been served. Yeah.
And so I'm like, all right, whatever. But I just saw this guy for the first time in my life.
Yeah.
I'm like, yo, that nigga look like a cop.
Yeah. And I get it, man. You're already in it. You're like, let's just serve him. But you get that gut feeling.
I'm in my M3. This dude's like 6'3", and then he's squeezing the back.
Yeah,
and
nobody doing coke's ever that big and in shape.
Yeah.
Oh no, black guy?
No, he was Spanish. He was like
Spanish.
He was like Colombian or some shit like that. Like some from South America somewhere. And so he jumps in the back of the car. He asked for like a few bags, and my guy passes him the bags. They never locked up my guy. He didn't go down in the whole
dragnet.
The stent. Yeah.
How?
They didn't know who he was. They didn't.
So he wasn't named in.
He was not named
in the indictment.
Whole indictment.
Oh, interesting. So they just let him go. They let him slide.
But that sale that he did, they put it on me, and they said I made that hand-to-hand transaction.
So now you have. So the day that it all goes down. Was that the same day that
No. That was way before,
Gotcha.
Maybe like 6 months before.
How did they only get 40 sales? You're doing 1,000 sales a week easily.
Well, it was only that phone.
Oh, right.
And so that phone was not too much traffic.
Okay.
But my other phones were running crazy.
Right. Okay. Gotcha.
This was a new phone that this dude tried to rob me with.
So they serve all these warrants. How many spots did they hit? Did they raid?
Just one spot.
Gotcha.
They raided, so they knew somebody. So basically, the first person that got caught, they brought to the it was like 12 p.m. He's in the precinct. He's fucking being pressured on. He told them everything.
Yeah, he broke.
He fucking broke.
Damn.
They're in there for hours.
Week.
Yeah, and so they start calling. They start calling the fucking my phone, and I keep sending people. I keep sending people. And all my drivers are getting caught.
Yeah.
And I'm fucking frustrated because my drivers are not picking up.
Right.
I thought the Nextel, the Nextel was going, I thought my shit was not working, and it was working sometimes. And I'm like, fuck, I got to go see all these. I got 40 people on the queue. I go all the way up to the Bronx. I grab like 4 or 5 packs, 24 packs.
Yeah.
And I just put them in my fucking underwear, and I'm like, I'm going to go make these deliveries myself.
Now, how did you feel? Like the day I got caught, I remember feeling like hazy and unhappy. Like there was like a feeling. And I had no idea that like, it really is like the stereotype. You just feel like when it's the end. How did you feel that day?
That's how I felt. Like it was the end.
Do you know what I mean?
Like, I've been caught before. And I was in those like nervous states, like fuck, you know. And at that time, I was not nervous at all.
That's the problem.
It was just like I knew it was done.
You're done. Yeah. It's almost a relief, actually. In many ways, I felt relieved. Though the deepest sleep I ever had was the first day I ever slept in jail. I mean, I know you've been locked up before, but
I guess it was maybe a.
Did you feel it was a burden lifted off of you?
A little bit. Even though I was
obviously you're fighting for your life.
I was fucked, but I was not nervous. The only thing I could think of was that I was like worried about was my son. Yeah. And my son is
this guy.
Yeah.
Okay. He's your oldest?
He's my oldest.
So did you think, this is probably going to be Fed time at the beginning?
Yeah.
Because the DEA is there. You assume
they got the badge. There's like 20 motherfuckers.
Yeah.
They caught me with a brick and a half, all bagged up.
Yeah.
I go into the precinct, they fucking start clapping. I see my co-defendants in all the cells. Yeah. And they take me to the bathroom and they strip me and another 100 bags of coke fucking fall out of my underwear.
Yeah, right. yeah. And then you got this, to boot, you got this long ass rap sheet.
Yeah. And so they, the feds take your fingerprints, your ink fingerprints. Right. The state only takes the machine. So I'm thinking they took my
your ink fingerprints.
My ink fingerprints.
Right.
And they would have probably turned it into a Fed case if I would have snitched, or I would have buried myself with some stupid shit.
Right, right.
But I didn't.
Yeah, so they only could put a brick and a half on you. The NYPD, yeah. And, by this time, too, I really believe that the DEA, because they can choose, the officers in charge can choose to go to the U.S. attorney with it, or they can choose to be like, you know what, local pigs, you take it. I know this guy, he told me because I didn't get caught with a gun. Yeah. And there was like a rule during that time, like in 08, 09, that they said, if you got caught with a lot of work and a gun, you're going to the feds. Yeah. Yeah. And as if there was no weapon involved. And they could look at you too. No bodies were linked to you. You know what I mean? There's no violence linked to your organization. So, and I was not, they never, even though I was serving in the tri-state area in Jersey and Connecticut and all that crazy shit, they never caught us. Right. Like right. That. So they're looking at it like, yeah, okay. Unless he's going to give up his connects, these guys that are bringing it off the ships, we'll let the state handle it. Yeah. So yeah, that's, and because, that is the truth, right? Like that's the reason I never caught a Fed charge, even though I was shipping work everywhere. They wanted my connect. They wanted these Sinaloan guys who I was picking up from. They didn't have me with any work. And they looked at me like, this is just a kid. This is just a businessman. And they looked at you, your sweet face, and they were like, you know what? This is not like a federal criminal. That is because the system is run by just people. You know what I mean? Yeah. So you lucked the fuck out. I'll tell you that much. I got super lucky. I've been fortunate. I've been blessed, man. So how much time did you do? You did shock again? So I got 7 years. Yeah. And then so out of the 7 years, you got to do 6 years because 10 months to a year. I mean, we could explain this shit to the public. So it's 85% of your time. 85% of your time is what you're supposed to do. So and that's New York State. And that's New York State. That's like Oregon. That's like Fed time. You got to do almost all of it. Yeah. Oof. But then I out of that 3 years
before my release, I'm
get
considered shock.
So, and you did shock
And so
again.
I did shock again.
Gotcha. And well,
I did shock twice. I got kicked out of shock. No, I did shock I did shock when I was like 19.
yeah.
Then I got shock again. And then while I was in shock, I got kicked out, sent to the box, and then started over.
Why, you got in a fight or something?
The guard put his hands on me when I was doing a random drug test. And it was a whole shit.
You punched him.
No. He hit me because I was, before the drug test, I was being searched. And so I had my hands on the wall and he was searching me very aggressively, and I moved my body a little bit, and he was like, "Don't fucking move, inmate," and he punched me behind my head.
Yeah.
And like, shock officers are not regular.
They're not regular cops.
These motherfuckers will they tell you, we're going to put hands on you.
Because they know they can, because they're holding so much time over your head.
You're like,
you can't do anything.
Yeah,
you're just a victim.
He fucking punched me, and I got off the floor. I turned around on the officer, and I was like, "Why the fuck you did that? I didn't do anything wrong." He's like, "Get the fuck down there, man." I was like, I'm trying to like plead a case off of him.
Yeah.
I got 2 months towards my release.
Oh my God.
I'm fucking stressed.
Yeah.
And then about a half a dozen officers come to the room, and they baton the fuck out of me, and they shackle me up.
Yeah.
And then they throw me in the box, and then I'm stressed the fuck out there.
So you didn't. So that's how. So you didn't get shock. You didn't get to finish shock.
I didn't get to finish shock, but then they allowed me, because I pleaded guilty on that charge.
Offense. Yeah.
Yeah, they were trying to say that I was attempting to assault an officer, but I pleaded guilty to disorderly conduct.
Right.
And then they allowed me to start the program.
Shock over. Did you recognize any of the shock guys from when you were, like the first time you did it?
Well, I did it in a different facility.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
gotcha. Where were you?
The last time I was in Lakeview, but before was Monterey.
What was the
50
max?
Cents was in Monterey.
Okay, gotcha. Were you in any maximum security prisons during your stretch?
Coxsackie, and then I stopped in Elmira.
Yep, classics, man. Yeah. Thanks to rap, I know all of the New York State prisons. Yeah. So and while you were down, that's when you started working out. You come home, and that's when your, what's it called?
Con
Body is born.
Yeah. So Con Body was born when I was in shock in that solitary confinement cell. So I was doing all these military workouts. I lost a lot of weight. I lost over 70 pounds in 6 months. And while I was in that box was when I was like, I need to change my life around. I need to do something. I can't go back to the streets.
Yeah.
And I'm dealing weed. I'm fucking around in jail too.
Yeah.
I'm smoking like crazy.
Right.
While I was in shock, I didn't smoke at all.
Of course.
Just because I didn't want to take that chance.
Yeah.
But I was bringing in weed, like crazy shit.
Like through the visiting
rooms and all that shit. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Did you get away with any money?
Getting in money?
No, I mean like. Did they seize a bunch of your money, or were you able to like get away with some of that before you went in?
I got a little bit. I had a little bit, but then throughout my prison sentence, that shit was pretty much all gone.
You got to spend it, right?
Yeah.
You need money in there to live decently.
I got a family out.
Yeah. Right.
That needs to survive. So and nobody's bringing in income.
So you were in the hole, and that's when you started these workouts. And that, like, when did you decide it could be a business?
In that cell.
Wow.
I like literally wrote this shit down. I was like, I'm going to start a boot camp, like a fitness boot camp. And I just came home and started doing it. Yeah.
And I mean, and so you have a space, you still live in the Lower East Side.
Yeah.
Is Con Body also
Con Body's in the Lower East Side.
Wow.
Yep.
And how's business?
It's great.
Wow. That's awesome, dude. That's awesome. Good. Are you, now I noticed like in the advertisements, it's like a lot of like people from the neighborhood, but is it also like white people? Like
same demographic,
same demo, right?
Yeah, wow, you guys are great. Yeah, you guys pay me premium prices.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Nah, it's a diverse community, but mostly like a lot of females wearing yoga pants that take classes, you know, and and they smoke weed too. You know? So I'm gonna be selling weed to them as well.
Yes. So tell us about that. Let's hear about the dispensaries. Plug all that, man.
Yeah, no. So I'm opening up. Now I'm allowed to sell drugs again.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm gonna be allowed to sell cannabis because I got one of the first licenses in the state of New York.
Wow.
To do this because I got incarcerated for cannabis. So the first time I went in when I was young, I went in a few times for weed, but I violated probation for weed, and so I got that charge in my case, and have a net profitable business. And so that was a combination that allowed me to get a cannabis license.
How is that? So if you're a victim of the war on drugs, they give you priority.
So priority, and only in New York State, if you've been convicted for cannabis,
right? So
you did time for cannabis, and then you also have a net profitable business for at least 2 years. And so I use CombBody.
Wow.
I've been running for 10 years. I applied, showed my taxes, showed everything, showed the number of employees that I've hired.
So that means like you could show them like, hey, I'm a legit businessman.
Yeah,
and I'm
I know
successful
how to operate. They wanted to give it to people that knew how to operate a business and pay taxes and know how to do it. Like
totally.
Stuff, so I was fortunate enough to get involved, and I was trying to get involved. 2016, I was advocating for cannabis reform in New York State, and then also like I got offered a job in Massachusetts to work there. Yeah, but I couldn't work over there because of my felony, my drug cases. Yeah, which is stupid. Yeah, like,
of course.
Like that's the shit I don't like about white people, that they
law.
It was just like there was a huge thing that they didn't allow people that were convicted records for cannabis to work in the space,
right? Yeah,
which was fucked up.
Yeah, yeah, I know.
And so I was advocating against that, and then I was following the MRTA, which is the law, the marijuana tax law that came out of New York, that when they legalized it,
right?
And then they wrote this whole regulations about allowing the first people to run a store to be like me. Yeah. And I was like, what? They wrote this shit for me.
Yeah. That's
I was like, how many people fucking qualify for this shit? Not too many.
Not too many.
It was 903 people that applied. Right now, there's like 200 licenses. They're only going to give 300.
Oh, so you're on the ground floor. Think about that. You were on the ground floor of the coke game when the Lower East Side started to gentrify, and now here you are on the ground floor with legal cannabis.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Is it operating right now? Or?
No, we're on the construction phase, starting to do that now.
So brick and mortar, are you going to be able to deliver too?
Delivery too.
Wow. Yeah. The sweet irony.
And I still got those old phone numbers.
Yeah, you do?
Yeah.
Damn, text blast, man.
Well, no, and it's still that still operates,
Yeah.
I'm not involved with none of that shit.
Right. Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, hopefully some of those people got their lives together, quit using fucking drugs. But
I mean, it is what it is.
Come over to the weed,
Yeah.
That's amazing. Where is it going to be? Also in the Lower East Side?
Yeah, right. So I'm right on the Lower East Side on Delancey and Orchard is where we're opening up. I might move the gym above.
That would be the move. That would be the move.
The gym is a block away.
Yeah.
I'm just waiting. I got to do the math and see if it makes sense for me to cohabitate. But that's it's just a smart move.
Yeah,
to
totally.
Make. Because it's going to be an incredible cross-marketing
opportunity.
Of
course. Yeah, man. So, dude, listen to me. Listen up, fans and listeners. We got a lot of listeners in New York. Go see this man. Get your fat ass in shape, and then go downstairs and buy a brick of weed. Yeah. And go get munchies and eat it all up again. And then fucking go back and see him. Exactly.
Well, I told I'm going to fuck people up on a workout and then recover you on the bud side.
Exactly. And you're going to have edibles. And it's going to be like modern.
Edible, vapes. Yeah. Every type of thing. I'm not limited to, except for like alcohol. I know Minnesota just came out with like alcohol infused cannabis.
Yeah.
And they're allowed
I've
to
heard
do
of that.
But they haven't. You can't do that.
Is it called ConBud? Is that going to be the name?
ConBud.
Okay. So go check out ConBud and ConBud. Yep. And we're going to put all the links in the description. Go follow them on Instagram. Man, this has just been one of the best interviews, dude. I could talk to you for hours. I'm honored you came all this way to come talk to us.
Nah, this is fun, man.
All right, brother. Take care.
Thank you, bro.
All right.
Appreciate you.